On today's wrestling news, we've got the real reason behind the latest WWE releases, or more releases on the main roster coming soon. We've got a top WWE star who is ready to return, and more. Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, my name is Phil Chambers, and I'm joined by no one, because Gareth has bloody taken the day off. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video, comment down below what you think of all of today's stories. Links to each story are in the description below as well, so click the timestamps and off you go. But first up, we've got the real reason behind the latest WWE releases, and guess what it is? Drumroll please, it's budget cuts. Of course it is. So this is coming from Fightful Select. They reported that John Laurinaitis was at it again. He was the one who was making the cuts, and he sent an email to all WWE personnel confirming them, just saying that due to budgetary cuts and with immediate effect as of today, we have come to the terms of the release of the following. And he went on to list 8 wrestlers, a manager, and a referee, who are Dakota Kai, Malcolm Bivens, Paige Prince-Avalli, Sanjana George, Draco Anthony, Haaland, Persia Pirotta, Raylan Divine, Mila Milani, and Dexter Loomis. So we've got a bit of an update on a bunch of these. So first up, we'll go with Malcolm Bivens. He rejected to sign a new contract back in February. He just signed a short-term extension because of the diamond mine stuff. So no word on whether that short-term extension has just run out, in which case he'd be free to go wherever he wants right now, or whether the short-term extension was for like 6 months and they just cut it down or something like that. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But he was a guy who wanted his release, and so this is good. He's off. He can go do other things wherever he wants. Dakota Kai is in a kind of similar position. She just informed them that she would not be re-signing when her contract expired. And again, no word yet on if this is the end of the contract or whether they've just cut it short recently. So we'll have to wait and see where she goes, but surely Dakota Kai gets snapped up by a certain company very, very quickly, as she is a very talented person and can do well wherever she goes. Haaland is another interesting one. He was being put over massively as the sort of next Brock Lesnar kind of thing, which probably ended up hurting him in the long run, since he'd never actually wrestled before and was completely green. And this has led to people within the company believing that his in-ring abilities have not progressed fast enough with his time in NXT, and that has led to him being released, which is mad because he's really not been doing this for very long. You've got to give these people a bit of time to actually learn how to wrestle, otherwise what is the point? So Fightful went on to say that an NXT official has also shown frustration at several current on-screen angles and storylines being impacted with absolutely zero notice because of this. Because a bunch of those, along with Dexter Loomis, obviously, and Draco Anthony and Persia Pirotta, they're all regulars on NXT TV. And some right in the middle of storylines that have just completely been cut, and now they're just going to have to move on without them, I guess. And Meltzer also chimed in on this, saying reasons for some of the other releases was that Vince just didn't see a fit for them on the main roster. So yeah, like we say, a little bit of different stories depending on the people. Dakota Kai, again, she'd had dark matches on SmackDown. She'd had a match on Main Event. She, seemingly was ready to move on to the main roster sooner rather than later. She's got all the skills you could possibly want, but absolutely nothing. And yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with all of these. It's a shame, obviously, whenever this happens. It's just sad news. It's just WWE doing what WWE does these days, and it is a possibility of this happening more in the future, because Meltzer went on to say on the Wrestling Observer Radio that there is a possibility of some main roster cuts coming soon. He said that he had heard that WWE are not done with these budget cuts, as they call them. He specifically said that there is people in the company who think that that's not it. I've heard rumblings about more. I guess the idea is to do it before the investors call. I don't know, that seems like the idea. So he did talk about typically how they do these cuts just before the big investor calls, to show that they're moving forward and changing up the budget, making changes. And that, this could be just the start of another big round. There's a lot of people on the main roster, obviously, who aren't really doing a lot recently. that you could possibly see this happening to. The investor calls in a couple of weeks, I think. So watch this space within the next few weeks. There could be a lot more of this happening just on the main roster as well. But moving on to a little bit better news, I guess. There is a WWE star, a top WWE star, who is ready to return at a moment's notice. Alexa Bliss has said that she is just waiting on a call from WWE. She's been ready to return after not being seen since on TV since February this year. She was speaking to Adam Glynn of Adam's Apple, and when asked when she would return, she just said, "Hopefully soon. I'm just waiting on the call. I've been ready to go since before Saudi Arabia." Now, when the Elimination Chamber thing happened, she obviously had all the vignettes about Alexa Bliss making her return to Raw, and then she came back on Raw, and then they had the Elimination Chamber match, and then nothing. And that was that for Alexa Bliss. And she did voice a bit of displeasure about WWE not having proper creative plans in place for her after the Elimination Chamber. But here she is. She is ready to return whenever WWE give her the call, whenever they get their creative ideas for what they're going to do with her, I guess. Obviously, we saw Asuka return recently. Alexa Bliss is ready and waiting there. Bayley is surely going to be coming back sometime soon. There's a lot of stars waiting for their opportunities to come back, just waiting on the right creative, but we're just going to have to wait and see how long that takes. But we've got a few other things as well, since I'm on my own. I just thought I'd go through like some quick fire news things or things I've seen this morning. So, first off, we've got the WWE show in Cardiff. It has a name now. It's called Clash at the Castle, because Wales and castles and things, I guess. It's going to happen on September the 3rd at Principality Stadium. There's talk of Tyson Fury doing something, being involved. Tickets are on sale on May the 20th, but more importantly than the name, keep an eye out because we are trying to set up a special little something surrounding this event. Obviously, it's in the UK. We're all very excited about it. We're all going to be going down to take the trip down to Cardiff to watch this show. But we're going to try and set up some kind of live show around this, hopefully on Saturday afternoon, somewhere close to the stadium just before the event. So keep an eye on the channel. We will let you know, but hopefully we'll be doing some kind of live show again, because the last one in New York was absolutely fantastic and we absolutely loved it, and it seems like a really good opportunity to do it again. So keep watching this space. Hopefully we'll have a bit of a live show and a bit of news within the next few weeks. But more news, WWE splitting up another tag team, because of course they are, because they hate tag teams. This time it is the turn of Jinder Mahal and Shanky to be the latest WWE tag team that they split up. Shanky was wrestling Ricochet on SmackDown last night. He lost to Ricochet, obviously, even after a bit of help from Jinder. And then Jinder was mad at Shanky, yelled at him for losing at the end of it. Pat McAfee was saying, "Oh, he's done with him," as Shanky walked off to the back, leaving Jinder Mahal behind. So I guess that's it for Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Whether they turn Shanky face or what they're going to do from this, I've absolutely no idea. Obviously, they teased breaking up Los Lotharios last week as well. But they weren't even on the show or anything, so God knows what's happening with that. The biggest takeaway, just WWE hates tag teams, doesn't he? And we've got a little bit more on that because they have some really odd news coming out of SmackDown. There was obviously supposed to be this big tag team unification match at WrestleMania Backlash. The RK Bro taking on the Usos to unify the tag team titles. But that's not happening anymore for some reason. There was going to be a contract signing on SmackDown, and it obviously ended in a big brawl because of course they do, all these things always do. And then Roman Reigns came out to kind of help the Usos, and then Drew McIntyre came out to even the odds, and they all had a big fight. But then later on, Paul Heyman went to Adam Pearce backstage and got the match changed. So it's not going to be a tag team unification match of the Usos versus RK Bro. It's going to be a 6-man tag of Drew McIntyre and RK Bro taking on the Usos and Roman Reigns with no titles on the line. So absolutely no idea if this is just a random swerve on the road to WrestleMania Backlash, but I doubt it. No idea whether they're going to do the unification match at a show after this, or whether that's just scrapping those plans entirely. It's all a little bit of an odd one, this one. I don't understand where they're going with it, why they're doing this, or what they expect to happen. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But last but not least, we've got the announcement that Cody Rhodes is going to be on the next Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin on May the 6th. Apparently he's going to be talking about everything, including leaving the WWE in the first place and his reasons behind that. Obviously, he's running AEW and everything that happened there, and then leaving AEW to make his big return at WrestleMania to WWE. This is going to be really interesting, isn't it? Obviously, Cody Rhodes speaking with Stone Cold Steve Austin. These latest Broken Skull things have been absolutely brilliant. It's going to be really interesting to see how in-depth into the AEW stuff they go. Obviously, he's had Chris Jericho on the show before, so they're not shying away from talking about AEW stuff. But it's going to be very interesting to see what Cody says specifically about his run in AEW and Tony Khan and how things ended there. So some exciting stuff coming for WWE on that front, but let's finish up with some Twitter questions. The first one comes from Blackheart 185th to the demo, or something like that, who says, hey Phil, first time I actually thought to ask a question. You think the stuff with Drew Gulak is leading anywhere since they keep using him over the usual nameless indie or performance center guy? And he's got a picture of his dog, because I always pick pictures of the dogs. Good dog, and I goddamn hope it's leading somewhere, honestly. It's been a bit of a weird one, this Drew Gulak one. I think at least he's on TV, I guess, which is a good thing. But he's already been beaten up by Charlotte twice now, if you include the one last night, because Charlotte got angry that she couldn't beat, I can't even remember who it was in time, because they were doing a beat the clock challenge with an I quit thing, and Ronda beat Shotzi in like 1.5 minutes or whatever it was, because that's how you push new stars. Yay. So Drew Gulak was the timekeeper is the point of this. Yeah, he's had a bunch of different jobs. I really hope it's going somewhere. I've genuinely no idea where it goes, whether he takes over Sonya Deville's position if she's moving back into wrestling. And I guess that worked out for Sonya Deville in the long run. It got her on TV for a long time, and now she's finally getting back into the ring. Whether they just do the similar thing, but with Drew Gulak, absolutely no idea. I don't know what the point of this is. It's very, very strange. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt for now, because at least he's back on TV and actually doing something, which is better than he was a few weeks ago. The next question comes from Dinkelberg's neighbor, who says, good morning. Do you think AEW will ever introduce trios titles? And if so, who would you want to be the inaugural champions? I goddamn hope they do, because they've been teasing this for a long ass time now. Originally, I always wanted this to be Death Triangle, but now that Penta's gone a little bit weird, I'd probably say get Pac away from them as quickly as possible and let him do his own stuff, because he's absolutely incredible and you need to do a lot more with Pac. And give this to the Blackpool Combat Club, obviously. Daniel Bryan and John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta. Give it to them and let them beat everybody up forevermore. And I would be happy with that. And finally, Ryan Schramm says, do you think there's a danger of some fans turning on Hangman if he beats Punk? I don't think so. I think Punk will do this in a fashion. I think he's really good at doing these kind of babyface battles. I think he'll make it personal. He'll make it interesting. He'll make it worthwhile and make it like they actually want to kill each other. But at the end of the day, he will congratulate Hangman Page. He'll hold his hand up. He'll shake his hand. They'll hug. And they'll make it worthwhile. And that'll just be one hell of a sort of notch on Hangman Page title run. To cement him as a top guy within AEW for forevermore, hopefully. So I think Punk is very, very talented at this. I think he'll find a way of making no one turn against Hangman. And he'd probably even maybe turn himself heel a little bit before he turns Hangman Page heel. Because he's not here for himself, he's here to put over everyone else. That is the point of this run. So I think he'll find a way. But that is the wrestling news for today. Thank you very much for joining me and my solo ramblings. If you want, you can follow me over on Twitter. You can follow me at PhilMyChambers. You can follow all of us at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like I say, like the video, comment down below, because it's all stuff that makes YouTube like us. Let us know what you think of all of today's news stories, including who you want to win the trios titles and what you think of CM Punk versus Hangman Page. Let me know. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day. Goodbye.